So welcome to Supportive Communities, Session 1, which is signposting and resources. The idea of the sessions came about we aimed at really at anybody who did any sort of role where they are supporting or helping older people in Staffordshire, wherever that may be, and in whatever guise that is. And I now know, having done 35 plus of these sessions, that the sorts of roles and people that we have on these calls varies tremendously. So I've had people who've been befrienders, people who support workers, people who've just been helping their neighbours get their shopping or their prescriptions whilst we've been going through the time of the crisis that we've been going through over the last 9 months. We've had people working or volunteering in libraries, we've had social prescribers, lots and lots and lots of different roles. So the aim of it was really to equip anybody with the basics on a number of different topics. And what I would say to you, and I say this in every session, is take from this what's relevant to you, because not everything will be relevant to absolutely everybody, because it is such a broad audience. But there hopefully will be elements that will be useful and interesting for you to know about. So this is session 1. I cover 2 main sort of things on here, which is, first of all, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a guided tour around Staffordshire County Council information, advice and guidance section of their website. You may be aware of it, you may have seen it, but you may not know the depth of what's on there and all the bits of information that you could get or signpost somebody to in order to answer various sorts of queries. And the second bit that I'm going to take you on a bit of a guided tour around is Staffordshire Connects, which is the county-wide database of services and activities. And again, it might be something that's new to you or something you're familiar with, but like many things, we don't always know the full functionality of a website. We just do the bits we want to do, and then we don't really explore anything else. So I'm going to show you what everything does on there, how you can use it to the best way for you. And then I will talk a little bit around some other areas that you can get support for older people and signposting generally, all the sorts of things that we would need to think about when we are working or supporting older people. The session 2 is, first of all, it's about communication. Really interesting one to do on Zoom. I've run communication skills for many, many years, and it's an interesting one to do as a bit of a monologue, but I can at least talk through some techniques, some tips and ways that you can communicate most effectively with people. And the second part of that session is about safeguarding. It's not level 2, it's probably not even level 1 safeguarding, but it's an overview of the sorts of things that you might see and you might need to be aware of, but crucially, what you would need to do if you were concerned if anybody was at risk of harm or abuse in any way, shape or form. So that's session 2. Session 3, first of all, I talk about assistive technology or daily living equipment. So what sort of things are out there on the market that can assist people look after themselves a little bit easier than perhaps they would have done otherwise, and what resources are out there to help them. And I've got loads and loads of resources on that one. And the second part of that session is about digital skills. I don't have any magic solutions there. I can't magic up a load of devices or really good broadband connections to some of our more rural parts of our county, but I can talk you through some hints and tips about how to get people online so that they are as less isolated perhaps than they would be without it. I know it's absolutely not as good as face-to-face, but for the moment that's what we have. So that's the 3 sessions. You can do them in any order, just take your pick and come along to them. So session 1. Helpful really to talk as a bit of an overview about what sort of issues you might see with the older people you're working with, and you'll probably recognise some of these things that I'm going to run through. First of all, loneliness and isolation. We've known for years and years how much of an effect loneliness and isolation has on people. It has a huge impact on not only their mental health, but their physical health too. And we know it's really bad for people. How worse that has got over the last 9 months or so, how much more isolated people are, or even individuals that weren't isolated maybe a year ago are now finding themselves in crippling isolation. That is something you are almost certainly going to see, whatever role you are doing. You also have a lack of activity. Lack of activity again has impacts on physical health, and that's intertwined a little bit with isolation. And as we've all been going through the last 9 months, some individuals have definitely not left their house for a very long time. They might not be getting out into the community, not having those social interactions, but crucially, they're not exercising, they're not using the muscles that they have. So that lack of activity then has an impact on things like falls risks and all of those sorts of things that could lead somebody to those longer term health problems. We might have individuals who are struggling with eating or drinking or their weight management, both under and over, as people struggle to deal with life and what is happening at the moment. People do struggle to look after a home and stay independent. That's absolutely where session 3 comes in, and what somebody can do to help themselves in that sort of respect and stay independent. We know that it's important for people to stay independent. It's important for people to stay in their homes. They feel safe, they feel secure there. That's where they want to be. It's their home. So what sort of implements are out there that can really help somebody do that a little bit easier? So we know that's an issue for people. Falls prevention, again, somebody living on their own, somebody with limited mobility might start to struggle. Debt is a massive source of risk, a massive source of issues that affects people's mental well-being and all of that. Again, it's been an increasing problem over the last 9 months. People have maybe been furloughed and not been able to afford what they were able to afford a year ago. People have been made redundant. We've obviously got Christmas coming. It's a few weeks away. It's ordinarily a difficult time for people anyway, as they feel under some sort of compulsion to borrow in order to experience Christmas the way that they think they should. Again, it's an increasingly worsening problem. As is bereavement. Bereavement over the last 9 months has impacted on people hugely. People have not been able to say goodbye properly to their loved ones. They've not been able to do perhaps their normal rituals, their normal coping mechanisms that they might have ordinarily done, not been able to perhaps mourn with other people within their families. How difficult is that? Bereavement has left a huge hole in people's lives. Mental and physical health is entwined through all of those elements. And those with caring responsibilities, anyone who's ever been a carer knows it's a really, really stressful role. It's time consuming, it's 24/7. You can't really escape it. And caring responsibilities, again, has been hugely impacted over the last 9 months. There's various sort of services or support systems that were available have ground to a halt for a variety of reasons. So I'm sure as you see those issues ahead of you, you may well have seen ones that ring a bell with you. You may know people who've experienced some, if not quite a few of those. And certainly there'll be issues that aren't on there that you've definitely seen within the people you're working or volunteering or supporting. So the sessions really, there's a bit of a theme running through them all. They're all about tackling some of these issues or making sure that we're supporting somebody to stay as safe and well as they possibly can, given the situation that we're in. And there's various different ways in which we can do that. So I'm going to talk you through the Staffordshire County Council advice, information and guidance part of their website. And this bit really is either for you to find out some more information yourself on a variety of topics, and pretty much every topic that you see there is covered to some degree on the website. And that's really for you to upskill your own knowledge or find out a little bit more so that you can help somebody a little bit better. It doesn't make you an expert in any way, shape or form in mental health, physical health or anything like that, but it's a little bit of a starter so that you can at least point somebody in the right direction. But equally, if that's not the sort of role that you do, and I'm aware that people don't, then you know that the website's there, you know that the information's on there, so you can signpost other people to it so they can also find out the information. So what does it cover? Well, first of all, really important topic, obviously, and we cover this in session 2, is about protecting people from abuse. And this part of the website covers what is abuse. So what does that word even mean? How would we recognise abuse? What signs and symptoms should we be looking for? How do we report abuse? What's the method of doing it? What do we need to know in order to do so? And crucially, what will happen once we've then reported some problem that we have? So that part, really important part of the website. The second bit is around COVID-19 and looking after your well-being at home. I am going to show you around a little part of that, so I'll come back to that a little bit later. The next section, quite a big one, keeping well and staying healthy, covers loads of topics on this one, including things like mental well-being, getting active, physical activity, particularly for older people, eating and drinking, weight management, drinking less alcohol, stopping smoking, and drugs. So lots of things within there if we're worried about somebody. Then we go on to help and support with daily living. So this is when the people that we are working or supporting might start to struggle with some aspect of their lives. And this covers things like eating and drinking again. So if somebody's struggling to do that, maintaining the home, how to do that, moving around the home safely. It covers falls prevention and what things are available to help somebody in that respect. Covers managing finances, so back to that debt issue that I was talking about. Personal care, if somebody starts to need that. Taking medicines safely and what all different medicines mean. Again, I'll show you around that aspect shortly. Housing options and also assistive technology. So again, it's quite a large area, a large section of the website. Search for health and wellbeing apps. I'm going to come to that later because I'm going to discuss that further on. And what's available in my local area is a link to Staffordshire Connects, which again, I'm going to come back to later on. Your social care journey. So if that's the start of something that somebody needs, well, there's information on there about funding the cost of it, how to get support with daily care and living and support in that sort of sense, how to raise a quality concern, and what advocacy services are out there for individuals to use. There is some information around support for carers, so what support is out there, what's available, what is a carer's assessment, that sort of thing is on there. And then we have information resources, which again, I'm going to show you a little bit later on. So as you can see, there's a wealth of information that we have available to us on the internet, on the website. I'm going to share with you now what that looks like. If you just bear with me. Just trying to find it. It's typical, it's not working when I'm trying to do it. There we go. Okay. So this is the website. There is a link on the PowerPoint on the very next slide that will take you directly to this part. As you can see, there is a new banner, and this has changed even since the last time I looked at it. And this banner really gives us some indication of where we are with the current crisis. This has changed from what it was last week when it talked about the fact that we were all in national lockdown. This is telling us what we're going to move into. It can be quite tricky sometimes to find out what's the latest guidance. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for individuals? I don't know about you, but I see questions all the time from people who are quite confused and unsure about what it means for them. They have questions, understandably. So we can use this banner to find out more. If I just click it, I'll show you what it looks like. So it takes you directly to this, current restrictions. It obviously talks about what the current restrictions are. We're all still under those national COVID restrictions until tomorrow. But then what restrictions are starting tomorrow. So if I just click that and go through, It gives us very basically the key points for what it means in terms of us. But interestingly, we've got some frequently asked questions that were over on this right-hand menu here. And again, the key points, but what does it mean for families? What does it mean for the most vulnerable? What does it mean for businesses? So very helpfully, we've got that information available to us all in one place so we can find that out ourselves. If I just go back a moment, we can also, on this particular page, get testing as well. So we can book a test using this. So everything you should need to see about restrictions, about what's happening locally, even information about what the cases are like in Staffordshire and the vaccine that hopefully is coming and will hopefully mean we can return to more of a normal life. Everything is down in this section. So you just follow this banner and you should hopefully see everything. So I'm going to go back to the home page. Okay. So as you can see, looking down this list, those are at least some, if not most, of those parts of the website that I've just talked through. There are a couple of additions. The first one is community help points. So this is a list of help points within communities, their libraries, their places like community centres, they may be voluntary organisations, but this is where you could signpost people to who may know a little bit more about some of the topics or some of the signposting that individuals might need according to their problem. So community help points are all listed within there. There is also a benefits calculator. I'm going to show you that as part of a scenario a little bit later. That again is an addition and a great addition. And you can also apply for a blue badge using this as well. So loads of information down here. As you can see, the ones with the arrow, if you click them, it gives you some additional options so that you can refine your search a little bit better and find the information that you want. So the way I'm going to take you through this really is, if I go back to my PowerPoint, that is the link there, so you can click on that when you get the slides through. I'm going to take you through some scenarios. Now, ideally, what would have happened is we would have all been sat in a room, you would have had a tablet or a laptop yourself, and you would have done this and you would have searched it yourself. However, that's not possible. So I'm going to walk you through these scenarios, but what I would recommend you do is have a think about some of the scenarios you've seen and have a play around with it after the session and see what you can find. Okay, so first of all, we've got Mrs. Andrews. She's been prescribed a number of medications. She's now totally confused. What should she be taking and when? A fairly common problem with older people who might have loads and loads of different medicines. And actually what we know is that often people who go and see health professionals, GPs, pharmacists, nurses, all of them, they might just sit there and nod along and go, yes, I know what you mean. And then they walk out and then they'll go, I didn't really know what he meant, but they feel embarrassed or unable or struggle to ask questions and they come out and they're confused. So this bit of the website really helps us try and find out some information about medications. So I'm going to click Help and Support with Daily Living for this. And down on the right hand side, I've got Taking Medicines Safely and Effectively. So I'm going to click it. A lot of the web pages look very similar. So you quite often have top tips. So some of the really common stuff that people wonder or ask about or just might need to know, a little bit of help for them. Again, that is often there. On the right hand side, there is sometimes either additional content or in this case, there is a more detailed fact sheet that we can go into. So you can scroll down, have a read. It's obviously got various links through. So if it is that actually in this case, Mrs. Andrews is struggling because she can't remember to take her medicines or she needs separating out, she needs some sort of assistance in doing that, then there's a link to some equipment that could be useful for that. Again, I'll cover some of that in session 3. And then some commonly asked questions. So what is it that people want to know most often? Things like that. Are cheaper supermarket medicines as good as branded medicines? Well, the quick answer is absolutely yes. It can save people a ton of money. So then it talks all about through all through some of the questions. And then at the bottom, you've often got some links. So what else is there that can support in this? And they're often external links as well. So I'm going to click as well this detailed fact sheet on the right hand side just to show you what that looks like. What you might have at the top is a series of sub-menus. They're all clickable so that you can go directly to the part of the fact sheet that you want. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, or you can just have a read. You can also use this to print off. So if you are in a facility where people visit, or maybe you go to somebody's home, then you could have this on your person in order to give them to them or to go through with them. So if I scroll down, talks lots and lots about medicines and what they are and what different ones are. But then we've got some questions that might answer things for our lady here, for Mrs. Andrews. Why do people take medicines incorrectly? And we've got not knowing when or how long to take medicines, not knowing, understanding what the directions mean. So if I click it, we can find out some more information about what different things mean and when we should do stuff, and just read through that. So it is a really useful bit of information on medicines. Like I said, it's not absolutely not going to make you an expert in any way on medications, and we're not pharmacists, we're not experts in that respect. However, there may be one or two hints and tips that can just help in this situation. Okay, I'm going to go back to my scenarios. Our next scenario is Mr. Salt. He's coming in confused, doesn't know what benefits he's entitled to. Is he getting the right ones? This could also work if somebody's struggling with debt as well. So if you know their finances are in a right mix, actually one of the first things is, are they getting everything that they're entitled to? Have they got taken advantage of that because they're there for a reason? So we can go back to our website. Let's go back to it. And this is brand new, about 3 weeks ago. And it links in with a website called Entitled To, and it's a really useful tool to know about. Definitely before somebody starts using this tool, they should have all their financial information to hand. So things like, what do they currently get? What does their partner get? What pensions have they got? What income? What savings? And all of that, because that will have an impact on their results. As you can see, it doesn't take long to complete, about 10 minutes, provided you've got all that information. So I'm going to press start just to show you what it looks like. And it takes you through a series of questions. So you can pop in the answers as appropriate to you, and you can work out your entitlement for this year, or indeed you can have a look at a different year. If you are getting partway through this and think, oh, blimey, I forgot to get such and such bit of information, then you can save it. So you save it by taking note of this calculation reference, which means you can come back and pick it up next time, save you having to input everything again. It's got quite a handy little bar at the bottom that tells you how far through you are in the survey. So that could be really useful for you to know about. Okay. Our final scenario is Miss James. She's come in. She wants to know about what can she do to help her older mother. So she's 85 years old. She's not leaving the house. She's got lots of worries and anxieties about what's going on out there. So what can she do to help her? She's at a bit of a loss. I know certainly in our organisation at Support Staffordshire, we get a lot of questions along these lines to come through to our helpline. So I'm going to go back to our homepage, and I'm going to click into this, looking after somebody's well-being while staying at home. So again, it's got some information at the top. What's the latest guidelines? What's the latest knowledge about COVID as it is at the moment? What should people be doing to best protect themselves? Again, a lot of misinformation gets spread, a lot of fake news and all of that. So it's really useful that people know where to go for the absolute guidance that comes from government, NHS, places like that. And then as we go down, we talk through different things that people can use and access in order to support their own well-being, or what in this case this lady could do with her mum is do some stuff with her, or just at least point her in the right direction. Obviously, it's got stuff around things around mental health, exercise things that people can try at home. The Staffordshire Library Service offers loads of stuff that are able to happen on a virtual basis or online basis. We also have Staffordshire Connects linked in here. Again, I'm going to show you later. And if they have particular worries on different topics, then we can have a look here. So keeping hydrated or eating well, if that's a worry. So what can we do? What equipment is out there? What tips that can we give to people in order to help them with their drinking and their eating? So lots of things there. Then there's bits around staying connected. Again, it's not going to be as good as face-to-face, and it does rely on somebody having a device and knowing how to use it, but there is stuff out there that can help people. Okay, we've got things around food shopping, caring for others, planning, and all of that sort of thing. So that might be really useful for somebody in that respect. Okay, I'm going to move on now past the Staffordshire County Council Advice, Information and Guidance Service on to Staffordshire Connects and tell you a little bit about that. So again, that is the link. All you need to do is click that hyperlink there that's underlined and it will open up the home page. So what is Staffordshire Connects? Staffordshire Connects is a local directory and it's got in it lots and lots of support in the community that we can help signpost somebody to help their health, their well-being, their independence. We can search for a wide range of groups and activities and services. In fact, there's about 3,000 listings on there, so there's a lot of stuff on there, and they range from those that are run by voluntary organisations, those that are run by statutory services, faith-based organisations and commercial organisations. So there's a whole range of stuff, and it's about having a look through and seeing what is applicable for you and the person you're working with in their situation. It is an umbrella site for lots of different areas. So we do have adults and communities, which is the bit we're going to focus on today. We also have a bit for children and families and for special educational needs and disabilities. So there's those elements that you might want to explore in a similar way if that's the sort of work that you do. The website is managed and owned by Staffordshire County Council, who do look after it and maintain it. However, they do work with organisations like us at Support Staffordshire. We have about just over 1,000 member organisations across the county, and with their permission, we share their details on to Staffordshire Connects as well. So their listings are on there as well. Like any database, it's a work in progress. It's only as good as the information that gets put in there and updated. So a word of warning in this situation, there may be some services that have either mothballed or they've changed in some way, or they've gone virtual, they've gone online, and it might not be updated in the listing. So before you send somebody off down to a particular service, it's worth checking with that service that it's still happening and in what form. Some of them, as I'll show you, do say it very clearly on the listing that they have, but lots of them unfortunately haven't updated. So I'm going to show it you. Just give me a second. Okay, so when you click on that link, it will take you to that homepage, Staffordshire Connects. There's lots of buttons that we can use across the top. We can do stuff around accessibility and language. We can search for stuff. We can register or sign in. I wouldn't bother too much with that. That's for individuals who might need to update their listing or use it for different ways than we would if we are signposting people. We've also got a shortlist. So later on, I'll show you how to shortlist, in which case they'll all be located there. And there are lots of different ways of going through, which are basically the same links as these. For the purposes of this, I'm going to walk you through what I think is the best way, because it brings up every service and every way of finding the things that we want. Sometimes when you put a keyword in or a postcode in or something like that, it doesn't always return everything. So if you walk through it in the way that I do, it will return everything. There is also this button here. This is suggest a listing or contact us. So if you are scrolling through and having a look and you think, oh, hang on a minute, there's this lunch club down the road, or there's this craft activity that's happening and it's not on there, you can suggest it to the team. Alternatively, you can use that as a way of letting the team know that something's changed about your listing. So if you have a look on here, find your listing, you can use it that way. So I'm going to go through into this adult and communities. So when I open it, you can see that it's slightly changed here. As I said, you can pop in your keyword, you can pop your town or postcode in. Probably not the best way. The best way is to go in through one of your boxes. Now, at the top of every page, you will generally find some blurb about that particular area. In this case, it's a very broad theme. You're an older or younger adult looking things to do or some support. There is currently always that button around COVID support at the moment, so if that's something you particularly know you need. And again, look at a support page if you're an individual who needs help because of COVID, you can go in that way. But then there are 12 categories, 12 basic broad categories that we can go through and have a look at, and they range from things like places to go and things to do. So what activities are out there? Money, debt and payments, money, benefits and direct payments, stuff in there about debt, for example, and money advice and direct payments, advice and advocacy, keeping safe. There's abuse in there, there's fraud in there, there's ways that we can report things like loan sharks in there, lots of different things. Travel and transport's got bus routes and those services within that category as well. So lots of broad categories. So in order to again take you through it, I'm going to show you some scenarios. That's the 12 topics I've just shown you. So our first scenario, Mrs. Jones, she's coming to us because she's got some struggles with her mental health. She doesn't really know what to do. She doesn't really know where to go to get support. So I'm going to go back to my website and I'm going to go into health and wellness. So I'll click that again, some information about the broad topic at the top, still that way, direct way into support for COVID. And loads of things have come up that we can use to help Mrs. Jones in this respect. So there might be specific things she needs support with. Maybe it's alcohol and drug use. Maybe she needs to get out and about. Maybe she's got bereavement issues. But in this case, I'm going to go into the broad category of mental well-being. I'm going to click that. So when we search for stuff, they will look very similar. So they're all going to show us a particular list of results. On the left-hand side, we can narrow it down by our locality, depends where we are sitting in the county. And Stoke-on-Trent is included in this, as well as all the districts of Staffordshire, as well as some services that are perhaps just outside of Staffordshire, but they have services and facilities available for Staffordshire residents. So I'm going to click one just randomly. I click South Staffordshire, and it shows us a list of who's available in South Staffordshire to support in this sense. Anybody that's ticked mental wellbeing will show up on this list, so it's a matter of having a look through, seeing what's most suitable for our situation. There are some that will always be at the top and they are starred, and that's because either they are specifically operating at the moment and we know they're a really good service to go into, so they've been highlighted right at the top, or there's another reason for them being at the top. Maybe it is because they've changed in some way, so that might happen. As you can see going down, we've got various different services, from ones that are clearly national charities, all of those, all the way through to things that are much more localised. So I'm going to click on one just to see what it looks like and show you. So I'll click on Brighter Futures. So this is what this page looks like. On that side here, this is the organisation information. So it tells us a little bit about what that organisation is about. Bear in mind that is what that organisation wants to list, wants to say about themselves. In this case, with Brighter Futures, we've got various links, so we can have a look at specific areas. In this case, we'd obviously be looking at mental health, recovery and wellbeing support. And it tells us a little bit about them. Then it will have some contact details. That might be a named person there. In this case, it's the organisation. It may well have a telephone number. It may well have an email address. It may have a website. It may have a Facebook page. Anything like that would be on there. Then we've got the address. Now, bear in mind, I've just clicked South Staffordshire. This is clearly an address within Stoke-on-Trent. So that tells us that this particular contact or where to go doesn't necessarily reflect where the service is. And in this case, they've said they've delivered at various venues. We would go and have a look at their website in a bit more detail to find out what those venues were, or we'd get in contact with them. But if that was the case, that it was a local thing, we can click this button and get directions that will open externally. On the right hand side, we can print it, so that's really useful. We might want to give it to somebody, we might want to have it on our persons as we're visiting people. We can add to that shortlist I pointed out right at the home page, or we could just say, no, not really what we were looking for, go back to the results. We can then share it a variety of different ways. First of all, we can share it via a text message. We just pop in the mobile number we want to send it to, and off it pops. Or we can share it via social media in some way, using things like Facebook, Twitter, G+, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of those. But we also have this, which is an email link, so we can email it directly out. So I think this is great because we can really send it out in whatever form that somebody needs to get it, whether that's the printed page, the old-fashioned way, the one I quite like still, if I'm really honest, or if we can send it out electronically. And finally, we can pop in directions. So we can put in a specific postcode there and get directions to the address. So that's what they look like. I'm going to go back into my scenarios now and show you Mr. Smith. He's struggling with debt, doesn't know where to go for help. So what services are out there for him? So again, I can look in this case, money benefits and direct payments. As you can see, not so great a list. Well, again, some blurb at the top. It tells us Citizens Advice, for example, offers a load of services in that respect, and we can find our nearest one using that search tool. So again, it's highlighted at the top, or we can just go into money advice as the appropriate way to go into this part of the website. Again, we would look locally what's available in Staffordshire Moorlands for our gentleman in this case, and use it the same way. The last scenario I wanted to show you just looks slightly different. So Miss Andrews, she's lonely, she's isolated. It's an issue that happens in or out of the pandemic. So what is there available for Miss Andrews? So in this case, I'm going to go into places to go and things to do, and it looks slightly different. We can pick a date. So we know Miss Andrews is going to be free on Friday. She's got a lift maybe somewhere, let's say when we're not right in the middle of our current restrictions. So we know she can get somewhere. So we can go in via that tool, or we can see just what's on today, tomorrow, next 7 days, and so on. Alternatively, we can look at the refined options, so activities, clubs and groups. Maybe she needs a befriending scheme, and maybe she needs to go to a faith-based group because she has a faith that she wants to express. Maybe she needs to go to a community centre and see what's going on there. So loads of different things that might be suitable for Our Lady. But in this case, I'm going to go into clubs, activities and groups. So when I click this, I can then narrow it down further. So find out, what are you interested in? What's going on with you? What's useful to you? On this, it's useful for you to know at the top, Everyone Health is operating a loneliness and isolation service. It is available to everyone over the age of 18 across the whole of Staffordshire. There are virtual groups that are going on at the moment. Again, that's highlighted at the top for that particular reason. In this case, I'm going to go into arts and crafts. So we found out she's really interested in that, and I'm just going to click Stafford there. Okay. So again, I've got that virtual phone groups at the top with Everyone Health. And as I scroll down, I can see what's available locally. Now, this is useful because it's telling me an actual library is suspended due to COVID. So I know I'm not even going to go into that at the moment. I'm going to wait and see when that comes back online. So it's a way of finding out what's available. The No Sul Phoenix Club, there's nothing that says what's happening with that, so we would have to find out those details. So hopefully that Staffordshire Connects run through in a way that you feel that you could use it most effectively and to the best way that it's been intended for you, and you can find things and services and activities and support available for the person that you're supporting easily and quickly. Okay, I'm going to come on to the Health and Wellbeing app finder. So the Health and Wellbeing apps is all about apps that are available for people on smartphones, tablets, that sort of thing, and they can help individuals with their health and well-being in whatever way that they need it. But how do we know what's a good app, what's a bad app, what should we be recommending, what shouldn't we be, what does the job? So the Health and Wellbeing App Finder, it is a trusted library, as it says, of digital health and wellbeing apps, and all those apps are fully reviewed by an organisation called ORCA, which stands for Organisational Review Care and Health Apps. A bit of a mouthful. ORCA's a lot simpler to say. And the apps very much cover some of these common health conditions, so things like weight loss, fitness, stopping smoking, mental health, loads of different ones. Basically, what ORCA do is they review and assess the apps against some strict criteria. First of all, they look at data protection and privacy. So how well does the app work in those terms and keeps information about people safe? Some of this information might be quite sensitive, of course. So how do they score on that? It also scores on how effective is it? Does it do what it says it's going to do? Is it useful? And how easy is it for people to use? Is it pretty intuitive, or actually is it really difficult and it's just going to put people off? So ORCA give it a score, and it's a percentage score up to 100%, as you might imagine. Anything over 65% means, yep, it's a great app. It does what it says on the tin. It keeps people's information safe, and it's good for people to use. People like using it. Anything between probably 45 and 65%, it's like there might be one or two issues with it. Just approach it with a little bit of caution. Below 45%, you wouldn't be recommending it. There's probably some real privacy issues or data security issues with it, or it might just not be very good at all. So do avoid it. Apps can be downloaded from the website I'm going to show you in a moment, and it can be directly to any device that you want, either through, as it says, Android or iOS systems. And you can share recommendations in a variety of ways, as well as obviously telling somebody using the old-fashioned speaking to people. So I'm going to show you a different screen. I'll just show you a very short video. So that first link I showed you will take you directly to here. So it tells you a little bit about the app, the app rating system, and what it is. And we can just go directly here. It's embedded into the Staffordshire County Council website. We can pop in what our keywords are, if we know a specific area we want to concentrate on for the person that we're supporting, or we can use any of these boxes. Obviously, you've got respiratory apps, you've got weight management, diabetes, dementia, mental health, all sorts of different apps. So we can just broadly go into that category and find what's out there. It's got a bit more blurb about it, and then at the bottom it's got some best new apps. So what's been really good recently, and what's scoring pretty highly generally across the whole range of apps that there are with health and wellbeing. It often tells us if something's free or if there are some costs to it. Or what are the top rated apps at the moment? What's out there that's performing really, really well? And then it tells you a little bit about what the ORCA process is about. So I'm going to show you a very short video on a little bit of a walkthrough so that you can see it in action. It's only a minute long.
To find the best health apps using the ORCA site, use the search bar to input a keyword, words or app name. This brings up a list of relevant apps. All apps have their differences, so use the filters along the top to find the most suitable for you. Alternatively, you can search through the top-rated categories on the home screen, or even view the best overall apps. Our apps have been through a thorough review process. We present this information to you to help you make a good decision on whether or not to download it. Once you've found an app you're interested in, click on it to read the description and more information on how it performed in clinical effectiveness, data security, and user experience. Share the app using the social media buttons, or click the download button to be taken through to the relevant app store. To receive update emails from us with the best apps and latest mHealth news, create an account and tick the newsletters box. So now you know how to, why not get searching for a great app to help you or a loved one?
Okay, so hopefully that told you a little bit more about it. If you want to view that video again, or indeed share it with somebody, that is the link directly to that video. Okay, so just drawing to a close now, but I think it's just helpful just to talk about signposting and referring and what we might need to think about with the people we are supporting. First of all, I want to say that obviously some of those things that I've shown you today aren't everything that you might find in terms of signposting. I know that some areas still have things like printed directories and printed booklets of services, and that's great if you have it. That's brilliant. It can happen in quite small communities. I would say with that though, that again, it's a difficult thing to keep up to date, so bear that in mind. Also, some of the local borough and district councils also have their own signposting parts of their website, so it's also worth a look on those. But those listings may well be showing up on Staffordshire Connects as well, or they should be showing up on Staffordshire Connects, so you may not find anything vastly different on those. I think it's helpful to remember that when we're signposting people, what signposting means is we're giving somebody a responsibility to contact other organisations and manage their next part of their journey. What we're definitely not trying to do is create any dependencies with people, and we don't want necessarily having lots and lots of people continually relying on us. Absolutely, the best way is to empower people to take that next step of the journey themselves. And that's what we can do. However, I absolutely know that that's not suitable for everyone. Some people need more of a helping hand. And that's really when it turns into more of a referral process where we are doing that referring on behalf of an individual. And it's always worth remembering a couple of points with that. First of all, we absolutely need to make sure we have permission of that person to pass on their details, thinking about data protection and knowing that they are okay with that. Often the best way to do that is to sit down with them, do it with them, ring up the service that we're signposting them to, and then let them take the next step. Of course, we can't necessarily sit down with people in the same way as we could a year ago at the moment, but hopefully that will return. It's also worth remembering that when we're signposting or referring, what we think, and I do talk about this more in communication skills, but what we think is very much based on our personal experience, our history, our knowledge in terms of our own lives and our own issues and problems that we face. So sometimes it can be quite easy or tempting to swoop in and say, I've got the answer, this is what you should do. But your answer not necessarily is the right answer for everybody else. So It's about giving somebody choice and options so that they can make their own decisions moving forward about where they want to go, what sort of services they want to go into, or what activities they want to access. So obviously there's less choice at the moment. That is an ideal situation, and I am very aware of that. However, if we can give choice, that's absolutely the best thing to do. Okay, so just a reminder of session 2 and session 3, communication safeguarding, session 3, assistive technology and digital skills. That's pretty much drawn to the end of the session, bang on time, fortunately. I'm going to launch the polls, so hopefully if you see them, if you can complete them, that would be lovely. If you think this has been useful or think it would be useful for anyone else, please do let them know. They are due to finish on the 16th of December at the moment. After that, there will be 1 or 2 catch-up sessions in January, but that will basically be it. So please do get people to come on. Anyone can come on this session. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's a formal role, an informal role, you could just be helping your neighbour. It really doesn't matter. They're available to anyone, so please do pass the information on.